Hey, it's Chris. This one's long overdue. City of Games, Race to the Raft. The spiritual successor to their Isle of Cats tiling, but instead, you're taking a cooperative spin on just getting cats to a raft in front of fire. Is that any good? I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be in my top 10 of the year. This is now easily one of my favorite co-op games of all time. Why? Let's go. The trouble with cooperative games and the mitigation of the quarterback issue that is often the element of the room is quite a highly debated subject about the like and dislike of cooperative games as a whole. And quite often, the remedy for said issue in the first place is often getting rid of table talk. And Race to the Raft here is no exception. They do not allow you to communicate with your other teammates exactly what cards, or terrain cards, I should say, that you have in your hand on a turn-by-turn basis. The premise is simple. You're going to be laying these down, creating a unique path for each individual cat that is on the board in order to get down to the raft at the opposite end of the board. These tiles are going to overlay as you slowly make a path that is acceptable for a creature of its own color. Now, green, obviously, traveling only along green, and so on and so forth. Now, you have 5 different colors you'll be mitigating, 4 usual, and a 5th in an advanced mode. These piles that you see next to me are the cards that you're going to be drawing on a turn-by-turn basis. You have 3 in your hand at the beginning of the round. The gameplay distilled down into 3 different actions on your turn allows it that flexibility and degree of difficulty across the board with all comers. You're either playing one of these cards down and drawing a fire tile, or you're discarding a or 2 cards in order to move the cats in the first place. And you go, well, I'm just going to keep moving. Well, herein lies the problem. These discarded cards in order to move the cats, well, once you move the cat once per round, it then gets flipped over from its top to its side, which means it's exhausted, which means you're actually going to have to discard 2 cards if you want to move it in the same round again because it's that tired. Now, you may go, discarding's no big deal, Chris. You said I have to get rid of my cards anyway before the end of the round. Everyone has to play all their cards. Well, yeah, but these cards, when discarded, actually create a discard pile and a disaster pile, if you will. And when that disaster pile goes off, depending on how hard of a game you're playing, well, then bad things happen. In the regular mode, well, you just draw, when that discard pile gets up to 4, another fire token. Well, okay, it's fine. Now, here's the trick. In the advanced mode, you draw one of the disaster cards, and this causes further issues to go along with that. And so that's another degree of difficulty you're going to be dealing with there. And again, to mitigate some of the follow the leader issue that is often the case with a game like this, or can be a main criticism or concern, everybody has to individually play their own cards before the end of the round is up. Now, that may sound rather routine, Chris. Everybody goes around. No, there's no specific turn order. You do not have to lay in any specific way. You can lay all 3 of your cards before any of your compatriots lay any of theirs to mitigate the board, just in an, hey guys, I'm going to take my next turn manner. And from a cooperative game standpoint, not knowing what colors are on the other sides of these cards is kind of refreshing. Because as you draw these cards, you can see that these cards show you on the back of them exactly the ratio or the proportion of chance of getting the color that you're desiring in the first place. And all 4 give you slight different variations or highs and lows of said colors. And so what pile you draw from is completely up to you at the beginning of every round, but you're also going to be trying to do that with your compatriots as well to make sure that you have the best chances for not only the color that you're going for in this case, but the other ones on the board as a whole. And now you're probably just saying, Chris, that seems relatively simple, straightforward. You draw this card, you lay it over. It can even overlap with previous ones to create a path in order to get you down to said raft in the first place. Where's the challenge in that? Well, you can see on the left side of this board and a few other sprinkled places that we have fire. And the fire is gradually going to be encompassing the board in the form of polyominoes, that every time you play a card as a path, you also have to spread the fire, and the fire has to be contiguous, and the fire comes in oddly shaped pieces that are not going to fit easily with the ones that you want it to. And so you go until either the cats can't get to the raft, or you run out of ways to place the fire tokens on the board in the first place. Now you can start to see the trickiness. And I didn't even mention or go through the fact that you have 4 different sets of arrangement of tiles that are all also double-sided, as if it needed more variability in the first place, that this thing just gives you in spades over the top. Did I mention there's somewhere in the 80s or more different scenario setups just based on this, where the cats get set up in different locations, the fire gets started in different locations, and again, you may go, okay, Chris, again, this seems like a really straightforward puzzle. Well, then we start adding the complexity and the difficulty. Well, now the red cat has to be the 4th out of all 4 of these, but it's in the furthest corner. Or the green cat needs to be first, but it's the closest. Oh, it's also the closest to the fire. Oh, you want an added degree of difficulty? See this white path right here? Oh, that's the one that the white cat can only travel on, but the white cat can travel across all the different colors. But now that, again, you can see that it isn't on a ton of them in the first place. You can start adding advanced rules of rescuing other friend cats along the way, having objectives that you have to grab in addition, having cats only being able to be so far away from another colored cat in the first place. Or just that, I just mentioned that the green cat can move all the way that it wants along the green path. As you get more advanced, it limits it to 5 spaces per movement. And so that extra masterful path that you've been slowly crafting out of the last 2 turns, well, now you can only move partialities, and that fire is creeping a lot closer now all of a sudden in your rear view mirror. And I was a skeptic going into this. I said, you're going to give me a whole book of scenarios, right? They're just going to be slight tweaks, slight iterations. This is going to get rote and really boring and repetitive after 2 or 3 times. And it didn't. The rule book, even though the variances is very small here, you can see that the individual setups are drastically different. Red arrives 4th. Burning trees, 3-star difficulties. You flip to the next page, you have the 4-star difficulties. Red arrives 1st and red arrives 5th. Oh, all of a sudden the fire is on different sides as a whole. And you just go on, and slight tweaks and slight variations, slight difficulty adjustments. It just gives a whole new life as you go through in an advanced mode from a beginner mode. And therein lies the best strength of this game as a whole. As you're slowly putting out these fire tokens to gradually encompass areas to try to maybe not have the cat you're moving get blocked off, but still leave room for it to go where it needs to go. This game gives you depth of play along with variability and degree of difficulty, where I can play it with my kids, I can play it with my wife, I can play it with my game group. And there aren't many games, especially at a cooperative, at a 3 or 4 player count that do not overstay their welcome, that have that broad of an appeal. And that right there is something special. Because as you're learning to spatially arrange these variable tiles of fire that you're pulling out, which are inevitably goading you into guessing where and when you can place them to still be able to get your cat exactly where you need to, it's a tricky, tricky puzzle that works incredibly, incredibly well. I cannot understate the absolute amount of joy from puzzle solving that I have gotten from this game. This is easily my most played cooperative game in 2023. Because again, this game does the footprint and the setup teardown extremely well, efficiently, and it doesn't bear the burden that others do with similar or even, I dare say, more complex or even less complex issues and mechanics in the first place. So this game, all in all, I absolutely frickin' love it. This is a forever game for me. This is probably a top 25 game for me all time, if not higher. This is probably also in my top 3 or 4 cooperative games. I love this game. If I rated games, you know what this would be. This is a forever game in the collection, and I'm very happy to say that. So, this is a game I feel like with Bullet and a few others along those same lines, if they came out with more content, I would look at it right now and go, without a doubt. Without a freaking doubt. It's that good for me. Hopefully, this helps you figure out whether or not it'd be something for you. There you go. Race to the Raft. It's awesome. It's freaking awesome. This is a game where, again, it takes a concept that you go, I could have thought of that. And it just does it with such perfect execution that it makes you want to play it again and again and again in the same sitting. And that's rare, not only because you can time frame wise, but the creation of that desire in the first place just doesn't happen all the time either. And that's truly something special in this hobby. There you go. Have a great freaking day. Stay classy. Peace out. See you around. Thanks for watching.